So, very good evening to everybody. Just gone 7 o'clock here in the UK, and it is webinar time again. We've reached week number 32. How did we manage that one? It's the 21st of March today, and we are delighted to have Andrew Bennett with us this evening, and we'll introduce Andrew in a second. First of all, as we do with all the webinars, just a little bit of housekeeping to start off with. You will notice in the top left-hand corner of your screen that we are recording, and we record this for archive purposes, and also for those people who don't manage to see the full version of this. They might have to drop off, they might have internet connections or whatever. So this is being recorded, and it will be on an unlisted YouTube account, but it will be on the district webinar, the district YouTube account. So if you want to check those out, and also sort of previous ones as well, that would be good. So this will be uploaded hopefully middle of the week, depending on my computer, but I will Beck.
Yes, please. You mentioned the district YouTube account. Means absolutely nothing to me. Could you explain, please?
Yeah, so
or a link
District
or whatever.
91, I'll put a link in the chat later, but District 91 basically have their own YouTube channel, and we put all of our webinars on there. If you can please have your cameras on as much as possible, that would be really, really good. We know that Venice is currently hiding from a number of police forces in the UK, so we understand that she needs to have her camera off and her false identity on. But if we can have our cameras on as much as possible, it does really, really help in terms of the presenter and the feedback as well. If you can make sure during the presentation you have your microphones on mute, unless you're asking a very specific question, that would be really appreciated. There is going to be a Q&A time at the end, so don't worry about that. You'll have plenty of time in which to be able to ask questions and to just make sure that you're really happy with what's going on. And the most important thing really is to enjoy yourself. That's really, really the key thing, is to learn and to enjoy what we're doing tonight. So tonight's webinar, so Andrew's given me a great introduction, which is fantastic. So schools back and youth structures are gradually reopening in District 91. We have a distinguished history of delivering youth leadership programs for over 10 years. So much that we've been asked to assist Toastmasters in other districts and other parts of the world. They set up programs most recently in Lima in Peru. That's where Paddington Bear came from, wasn't it, Lima? I seem to recall. So if you're a young person from a home where the internet rules and verbal exchanges are somewhat minimal, the pandemic could have really reduced your chances of getting through your college or a job interview. So as Toastmasters, we all need to recognise the need to be able to communicate effectively, regardless of how old you are. So Andrew is our district advisor on youth leadership programs and Gavel clubs, and we're looking as a district to play our part in helping young people. So please welcome our district youth leadership advisor and Gavel club fan, Andrew Bennett. The floor is yours. Please take it away, sir.
Thank you, Andy. It's great to hear that we've been advising on youth leadership programs for Paddington. I think he might have been there somewhere in the background there in Lima, Peru. That's great fun. Toastmasters, how are you all? Are you all Toastmaster contested out? I want to say, first of all, a huge thank you to you, because despite the fact that we've all been judging, chairing, participating, contestants all over the world, you've still given up some time on your Sunday evening to come and to learn more about youth leadership program and the Gavel Club structure. I'm really sensitive to the fact that you've come this evening, and I'm so grateful to you. Thank you, first of all. Thank you very much. We are going to keep this meeting nice and simple. Andy, the very first document that I posted in the chat, which I hope can still be seen, is actually a little briefing program of what we're going to do this evening. You may need to repost it for us, Andy, so that folks can see it's the very first one. I'm going to take you through why we're undertaking a District 91 Youth Leadership and Gavel Club initiative. We're going to have a little walk through the program together. We're then going to talk about the Gavel Club, which is a slightly different situation and structure, which concerns not only youth, but can be used in other contexts. And then at the end, we should have our question and answer, and I'll take as many Q&A things for you and answer as many questions as I possibly can to help you. As Andy was saying, we've been involved with Youth Leadership Programme in District 91 for 10 years. In fact, when we started out, we were still District 71. And our friends over in Ireland have been doing Youth Leadership Programme for some time already. I was asked to step in by the Division Governor at the time, who was Paul Walsh, and then Freddie Daniels, who was going to be our District Director at the time. And they asked me to kick the ball of youth leadership for the district. I responded by first of all leading a programme myself within my daughter's school, because I felt I wanted to get to grips with the material myself before I encouraged others to do so as well. And so I undertook a programme in a school in Belvedere in Kent, the Trinity School. It was a huge success. We did the 8 sessions of youth leadership, the last one being the party session. And at the party session, we had speech contests with each young person deciding what kind of speech contest they'd like to be in. Would it be an international speech? Would it be an evaluation, a table topic? We did all of the types of contest in that one evening. And also they prepared an elaborate feast and lots of drinks for the guests that were invited, parents and friends. So we had a great time and a lot of learning was done. And I was very enthused by the session. I was able to bring some of our Toastmasters who acted as functionaries for the event, and they were enthused, and in their turn, they picked up the youth leadership program. And as these things do, it snowballed. Come now to a year ago, and we all know what started a year ago. It was the anniversary this week, the pandemic. Everything shut down on us. We could no longer go as guests to our schools and host the youth leadership program directly. We were in a situation where a couple of our programs were midway. Some of them had just been agreed to, but hadn't started yet. And everything was closing up. And it seemed such a shame. So I have been waiting for this moment when we knew that schools were really going to open up, to be able to open up this work of youth leadership and Gavel clubs again to us. It is an extraordinary opportunity. And I have many Toastmasters who have led the programs over the years who say it's the best thing that they've done on the way to their DTM award. It's the best thing they've done inside of Toastmasters, actually working with young people. I know that when we come to Toastmasters International and we join, we make our memberships, we're coming to improve our own speaking skills, our own leadership skills. We don't necessarily come to do what you might consider as youth work. But this is an exceptional opportunity. And I promise you, if you and your Toastmasters from your club become involved with a youth leadership program, everybody will improve by it. You'll all gain in terms of confidence in speaking and leadership. It's a very exciting situation. The program itself was invented initially in the 1960s, so it's tried and trusted. It's been republished several times. At the moment, the material comes in the form of manuals. Do you remember manuals, everybody, before we went digital? Remember the old manuals? Well, we still are on manuals for youth leadership. They haven't put it out as digital content to us yet. So it consists of manuals. What happens is that you will have and arrange 8 learning sessions with your particular school or youth club. But you say to me, how do I find a school or youth club that will take this program? The best contacts we have are through Toastmasters themselves, parents. That personal contact really helps. So the parents, Toastmasters, will go in and say, we'll introduce you to the headmaster, a senior mistress, a headmaster, somebody within the school structure, a teacher. And could you chat to them about youth leadership program and see if I can have that in my daughter or son's school? That's the best way in. Otherwise, you could approach your school with an email or a telephone call. I do put a proviso on that. Please be aware that schools receive a huge amount of marketing. Lots of people want them to buy programs of this and that. Our program is actually delivered free of charge. It has to be. It's part of our community work within Toastmasters International. But as I say, schools they receive a lot of marketing. And if you want to get the attention, I think a telephone call, then backed up by a letter maybe, or an email, is perhaps the way to go. Try to choose a school or youth club which is maybe in the vicinity of your Toastmasters meeting. That would make things a lot simpler for you later on. So try to get something that's close to your club, because what you will want eventually, if you are, for instance, the coordinator, you will want to be able to take members of your club along to the school or youth structure as assistants to help deliver those sessions. So try to make it local. Local contact is always best. And if you can have a contact through a parent in your Toastmasters club, I'd say go for that opening first. It makes life so much simpler for you. Where do I obtain my materials for the Toastmasters Youth Leadership Programme and the Gavel programs? I go to toastmasters.org, the great international shop on toastmasters.org, and you will find that if you simply type in Youth Leadership Programme, up pop the different formulas for the manuals, or if you put in Gavel Club, you will see that there is the paperwork for founding Gavel clubs. So all of that is available. Some of it I have put in files for you tonight. Remember, I said to you, I promised you, I'm going to make this easy for you. I'm doing some of the spade work to make life nice and simple. So we have 8 sessions. When you get to chat to the teacher or the head teacher, you need to make it extremely clear to them that our Toastmasters are mainly business folks. We're not qualified youth leaders. We don't pretend to be. Therefore, we always work under the guidance of a qualified teacher or youth leader. Now, this is important. I know that we have folks from different countries online with us this evening. Your countries all have different rules about child protection and different formalities. But certainly speaking for those in the UK, we always go under the guidance of a qualified teacher or qualified youth leader, and we are in the school as guests. We share our Toastmasters program as guests. Schools require you to sign in. They require you to wear a badge. When you're in the school, you're representing your club and Toastmasters International. And that is the way we've always run our programs. It's worked extremely successfully so far. I can honestly say, and hand on my heart, that we have never had an issue in a school with one of our programs. And so I think this is the best way for us to continue to run. The fact that you have a qualified teacher or youth leader alongside you means that you don't have to worry about issues such as class discipline. You're not the one who's responsible for setting up a conducive learning environment. The member of staff will do that for you. They will have the overall control of the session. You will be there to demonstrate, as you do in your club, as we do to each other, the evaluations, the prepared speeches, the table topics, all the normal aspects of a Toastmasters meeting. You'll be sharing that information with the young people, and then they in their turn will take the roles, and you will encourage them as they make their move and take those different roles within their own youth leadership meeting. The young people have 2 opportunities during their 8 sessions to elect a committee. So they will elect a president, a vice president of education, a secretary, and they have 2 opportunities. Normally the switchover is at session number 4, and they run an election for that. It gives more young people a chance to take a leadership role within the program. So it's a very healthy thing to do. As you start out the program, you will want your materials and your manuals, obviously, and you may ask me, how many people do I have in my group and how do I choose them? I want to make that simple for you too. Firstly, don't go above 25. That is a maximum. It's recommended by Toastmasters International, and I would say 25 is a lot. 20 is better, because during the sessions, you will hope to get every young person through 2 prepared speeches, plus the opportunity to evaluate, plus the opportunity to table topic or preside a meeting or be the Toastmaster for the meeting. Now, if you imagine 2 prepared speeches, 25 children. It's an awful long meetings, awful long meetings for you. So to fit in the 8 sessions, I would say keep the numbers relatively comfortable for you. And also in terms of choosing the young people, I would say that when you contact your member of staff who's going to work alongside you, you ask them to choose the young people because they know the young people that they look after. They know who they have and who they have in their class every day, and they can choose better than you ever could. So you will find that sometimes a school will say, we're sending you the gifted and talented children. Sometimes they'll say, we've picked some from the 6th form, from what we used to call the 6th form, from the upper years of the school, the A-level groups. Sometimes they'll bring, and that really is quite nice when they do it, sometimes they'll bring children who've got quite a lot of difficulty in just getting words out. Children in classes where they're really struggling. And by taking them out of their regular class and bringing them to one of our groups, those children progress quite comfortably because they find themselves in a very nurturing environment outside of their class peers, and that works quite well too. So it will be up to the school or the youth club to make the big decisions for you. Your role is to help prepare the session. You will need to lead a lot more for sessions 1 to 3. After about session 1 to 3, you will find the young people are capable of setting up their own agenda, their own meeting. You liaise with your qualified teacher or youth leader. It's always a good idea if you are bringing in a Toastmaster assistant, someone from your club, to let the school or youth club know in advance, please. Give them the name of the person who will be coming, say they are coming to do this presentation in our session today, just as a formality, a courtesy act towards the school. I also wanted to touch in this early part of the briefing on the question of everything that is to do with recording. Now, we are going to be offering for the first opportunity ever, we will offer the session via Zoom. That is because at the moment, the schools may still struggle to admit us in person. So we're going to offer the opportunity, but even in a Zoom room context, the qualified teacher or youth leader should be the Zoom master. And they must be present at all time in your session so that you are well and truly covered for everything to do with the child protection issues. So please be aware of that. You can offer it as a Zoom, providing the teacher is the Zoom master and they are there. Obviously, the equipment has to be good enough so that if the young people are presenting a table topic or a speech, we can hear them and they can hear us as we give them the feedback. That's a crucial thing for you, that you have good setup. But it is possible to do this. I attended youth leadership in Lyon in France not so long ago. I attended twice. They'd been in contact with me in advance. They had a joint project with Lyon and Clermont-Ferrand, which are 2 very distant towns. But I was able to attend at both online virtually, and they'd asked me some questions. As I say, we often get asked to advise on youth leadership in this district. And I found that their Zoom session worked really well, and it reassured me on a lot of issues. So I say we can do it, providing the teacher or youth leader is the Zoom master and is present. Then we can offer that as an option. Going on now to the actual program content. Toastmasters publishes a leaflet. I have scanned it for you. It's one of the files which is in our row there. It's marked as scan 419 and scan 420 actually, Andrew. But I thought it would be useful for you to have a copy, because if you are writing to a school or sending an email, at least we show that we're offering an official program if we have something that's smartly produced. At least if you can buy this from Toastmasters International. It costs about 50 cents to buy some of these. But for now, you have a copy in scanned form for you when you're contacting people, and they can see, well, this is an official Toastmasters International program. What it does do, which is extremely useful, is that it lists the basic content down one page of all the sessions. So for instance, it will tell you session 1, introduction to chairmanship, evaluation of present speaking skills and abilities, discussion of chairmanship principles. So we're introducing the young people to the idea of the meeting. The evaluation of present speaking skills, there is a little icebreaker exercise we do at the middle, in the beginning, sorry, which is that we get the young people into pairs and they have 1 minute to tell each other something about each other. And then we get them to report back on what the other person has said to the whole meeting. So that's a little ice-breaking exercise. It works extremely well. It's very simple. A lot of youth leadership exercises are very straightforward, very simple, and very easy to latch onto. The program is basically designed for teenagers. I would make you aware of that, because the material, for instance, we have a workbook here, which is the participant workbook. That material, I would say it would be possible for a very bright 12 or 11-year-old, but it's designed from 13 years and up, in all honesty. So you could do it if you had particularly bright kids. I do like the young people to have the manuals because they act as a souvenir after the course, and also they can reflect on what they've done. You know, we try to leave them with material which one day hopefully they'll pull out of a drawer or a cupboard and say, well, I remember when I did Toastmasters. I might go to a Toastmasters club now I'm over 18. It's a way of keeping contact with the young people. So in the manual sets that you receive, if you purchase them, you will see I've listed on the order of the program for you tonight also. I've listed the basic costs of manuals and workbooks. You've got it all on a file. But in a set, for instance, what we call the Youth Leadership Kit, you receive one coordinator guide. That's for you as the coordinator and your assistants. You receive 5 participants' workbooks, 5 participant certificates, 1 coordinator certificate, and what they call a set of 50 evaluation guides. Now, the evaluation guides is simply a set of 50 forms, because there are some evaluation guides in the participant book. But if you think you're going to have 8 sessions and they're going to evaluate a lot of speeches, so these are simply papers, a bit like when we do the evaluation contest and you can download the evaluation notes form so that you can take your notes in a contest. It's a bit like that. We provide them, you have an extra set of 50. You can see that they can download them if you're in a Zoom context. If we're lucky to go back in person, you can hand them out around the group, and they've got extra forms for when they're evaluating their members of their youth leadership program. Okay, so that's the basic content of a kit, and it's not hugely costly. This is all subsidized by headquarters, $17 for all of that. It's not a lot of money. It's quite doable for most Toastmasters clubs, I think. As I said, you can go upwards in number in your group. If you, for instance, you might find you have 10 participants, it would be worthwhile buying 2 kits because it's cheaper. But if you, say, ended up with 8 participants, you can top up with individual manuals, individual certificates, the individual workbooks, for instance, are $2 each. I'm aware that we do not these days tend to send away too much for manuals and stuff for headquarters. We've gone very digital, but our clubs do send off for things occasionally. So do encourage people to do a big order of something and put it all together. We all know that there are costs to ship these things across. And that is the way really I would encourage you to do it, is to regroup orders if possibly you can. It will be a little bit cheaper for your club. In terms of paying, it is customary for the Toastmasters Club to become the sponsoring Toastmasters Club. That would be your club. They appoint you as coordinator, and then you can take members of your club as assistants as you wish and as they are available with their time. In terms of timing your session, you will be in negotiation with the schools. Schools have timetables, you have a work pattern, you have a daily living timetable, whatever you do in your daily life, and you come to some sort of agreement. We've been very fortunate that some schools, for instance, have given us what they call the enrichment lesson, and that's a once-a-week session. That's with some of the older teenagers, they have something called enrichment. So you could ask about that, for instance. And it's a kind of 40-minute session usually, and we can tack on a little bit more to make it an hour just after time if we're very lucky, and you get a youth leadership session that way. So negotiate with your school. It can take a little while for a school committee to agree and pass your program. If you find yourself in that situation, it's quite good to do an initial table topic session. If the school will let you, go in with the qualified teacher, do a table topic session. Then the kids will already know something about what we do in Toastmasters even before they begin the program. Other things that you might find intriguing, which don't always turn up in our Toastmasters meeting, there is a minimum, just one chapter where we discuss parliamentary procedure. This is for debating, but it is very simple. It's how to place a motion, second a motion, amend a motion, pass a motion. As simple as that, and means the young people can hold a proper debate. There is a certain amount of group discussion that's suggested. We send the young people off into little groups. So if you're on Zoom, you're going to go into breakout rooms, but beware that if you send young people into breakout rooms, you will need to be able to survey everything, as will the teacher in those breakout rooms as you go through. So we have group discussions, and then the young people, somebody is the spokesman for the group, and they come back into the room and they present what the group has discussed. It's another public speaking opportunity. We cover all the aspects of a Toastmasters meeting. At the end of this program, as I said, we have a party, and that is the time for certificate giving. Young people, certainly in the UK, like to make mention of our program if they're applying for colleges, for instance, or jobs. Although we cannot give what they call UCAS points, which are university qualifying points from our program, there is something called the personal statement on a college and university application form in the UK. And it's good for the young people to make mention that they've done Toastmasters Youth Leadership Program, because then there is a chance that if they're interviewed for a college place, and they can do it if they've got it on a job, for a CV, it can go on your CV, there is a chance that they may be asked what it is. And they can talk about their experience in public speaking and leadership, and it opens a door for them. So I would really encourage that and let the young people know that these, and also you will find sometimes the schools even take photocopies of the certificates, and they will put them in the young person's dossier, and that follows them from educational structure to educational structure, which is an incredibly useful thing, I think. So let's just be aware that these are elements of Toastmasters, these are benefits of Toastmasters International that are good for the schools, they're good for the young people that we come into contact with. So what happens after I've finished my youth leadership program? It's all gone really well. I've given lots and lots of news to Andrew here at vocallyserious@gmail.com, which is also on the sheets. I've told him what I've been up to. I've given him news of how the program's gone. I've given my club lots of news of how we've got on. What happens then? Well, you might feel that you want to run another program yourself. One of your assistants might like to run another program, maybe the following term. Or you could consider something else. And this brings me on to number 4 today, which is the Gavel Club structure. I wanted to set this in the context of our youth leadership tonight, first of all. A Gavel Club is, to all intents and purposes, a Toastmasters club, but it is either for those under 18 years of age, or it can be used in exceptional circumstances for those who may be adult but unwaged, people who are unemployed. And in fact, I know that our friends in the States use it occasionally in prison structures. That's another challenging situation. Let's look at it in terms of the youth leadership. So your Gavel Club, and I have included, and you will be delighted with this one, I have got the Gavel Club kit for you. It's a file that you normally purchase from headquarters. It's 75 cents. But when I spoke to them on the phone and I said, we're trying to do this big district initiative and we love you very much, please can you help? they immediately gave me this as a present, and I'm able to share it with you, which is nice. So you'll be able to download that afterwards. So we have the Gavel Club bylaws. Rather like when you set up a Toastmasters club. I don't know how many of you have set up Toastmasters clubs, have sponsored, set up. Have you all? I suspect a lot of you have done this, haven't you? You know, we have a lot of paperwork. But with Gavel Club, there is a set of the constitution and bylaws. There are papers you have to submit to them. To run a Gavel Club, you pay an affiliation fee for your certificate, which is $50. And then every November, it's the renewal of your club, and you pay $48. It's not a huge amount of money, really, to be putting out every year. So it would be quite possible, for instance, for a Toastmasters club to say, we are going to have a Gavel Club coming out of our youth leadership, and we are going to maintain the sponsorship, and we're going to see that there are leaders there every year to encourage the young people to continue with their public speaking and leadership activities. It is possible. The documents are quite hefty. That's why I've put them as files for you. We're not expecting to read through them all this evening. Far from it. But do take them at your leisure and go through them, read them through. I think it'd be interesting for you to see it, because I'm aware that not a lot of Toastmasters have ever seen a Gavel Club kit. In terms of the material that you receive when you affiliate, it's something like we used to receive when we set up Toastmasters clubs. So in fact, you receive competent communicator manuals for your Gaveliers. They are called Gaveliers. They are not allowed to receive Pathways Awards, I'm afraid. That is reserved purely for us. It's purely for those of us who are over 18 in full membership of Toastmasters International. Please excuse the ambulances and fire brigade going by on the main road if you hear them in the background. Yes, so they do not receive the Pathways Award. However, you will find that online they do have things such as certificates that you can award to your Gaveliers. For instance, if you hold a Gavelier contest, or somebody's done a really special achievement with a speech and you want to mark that out for them, and so you give them a special certificate. But they are known as Gaveliers. In some countries, this is well developed now as a structure with the young people, as a continuation of youth leadership. So I'd like you to consider it, but I would always recommend that you tackle youth leadership program first, because it prepares the young people for the roles that they need to undertake to run a Gavel Club. So do youth leadership first, and then they will know what the president's function is, what a vice president of education does, what a secretary does. They'll know about vice president of public relations. They'll know these things. You'll have a nucleus of young people, and then that nucleus of young people, as year succeeds to year, will pass on the information to each other, and you will have a Gavelier Club, a structure that works really well. I did want to say to you a little bit about the other forms of clubs that you could do. Now, I mentioned that if you're not looking particularly to do youth work, you could possibly contact, for instance, a job centre and offer to run a Gavel Club for folks who are unemployed and unwaged. I think it would be a very good community programme to do. Please be aware that all of these options, be it youth or with unemployed folks or even in prisons, you can place in your DTM award. There is category 5, I think they call it, where they say that you can undertake, for instance, sponsoring a club, a speechcraft program, a youth leadership program. You can make this count towards awards. And of course, we have high performance leadership program, and this fits in beautifully for a project. So you've got all those options and ways that you can maximize the effort that you're making towards these programs so that it counts towards your awards. So, job centre, a possibility. You could contact and maybe have a group that's unwaged. You may have a group that's in a very challenging situation, but where simply the people would not normally have access or have the money to be involved in Toastmasters International. And you could contact Toastmasters, fill in the forms, explain the situation, found a Gavel Club there. The prison contact or context, I have known one Toastmaster who has done that, and that's Melanie Richards of the Excalibur Club. She did a prison Gavel Club at one stage. It is extremely complicated because of all the security checks that have to be undertaken, but it's a worthwhile project. At the moment, it wouldn't be possible because of the pandemic, and all the officers, the prison officers are at full stretch. It's not doable at the moment. But if you're interested in that, store it in the back of your mind, keep the Gavel Club information, and you can always come back to us at District at any time and say, hey, I'm really interested in this. Can you help me? And we'll do our best. Okay, so that explains Gavel Club for you. You have everything that you need. And also in terms of youth leadership, you have something which says YLP your scans. I have scanned the first 3 chapters of the coordinator's book for you and the first 3 chapters of the workbook for you, because I am aware that it could take time to get printed material from the States at the moment. So I think to give you a fair start, if you are able to make contact with the school and you want to get things going, you've got that in a file, you can take hold of it. Well, I've been sharing with you now for a full 36 minutes. I have been keeping watch on time, promise. There was quite a lot for me to tell you, but as I say, the documents you can really study at your leisure. And so let's go into our question and answer session now. If you have anything specific to ask me, I'm just making sure that I'm nicely on a gallery view so I can see most people, I hope. There we go. If I don't see your hand, just pop off microphone and say, Andrew. And it's over to you.
You
right.
can also raise your hand.
Yes, raise your hand.
Using the icon. Before we just go into the Q&A session, can we just unmute and give Andrew a round of applause, please? Because I think that was a fascinating session and really, really useful in terms of putting stuff into perspective, and also a lot, we've done sessions on youth leadership before, but we've never done one on Gavel Club. So I think that was, for a lot of people, that was the first time.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, everybody. Now, if I got any questions coming up the line, you could drop a question there in the chat. I'm just somebody chatting in the background.
Antonia's got a question.
Antonia, give me a question, please. Nice to see you.
And you, Andrew. So we're interested in doing this Hinchling speakers, and when I mentioned it to the committee, they immediately raised the subject of DBS checks.
Yes. Now, DBS checks, good. Pleased that you mentioned it. I did say to you that we always work under the guidance of a qualified teacher or youth leader, and that is why. DBS checks are usually specific to structures, to a specific school. Now, it's highly unlikely that the school will wish to pay for your DBS check. You may be somebody who, in your work, for instance, our friends in the banking industry, quite often they've got youth programs attached and they do the DBS for them. Some people have hobbies where they work in youth structures, they get the DBS. It's not an absolute necessity if you are working under the guidance of a teacher or youth leader who is qualified, because you are simply there as a guest presenting the program. So it's not an absolute essential, at least not in the UK at the moment. What I would like to say, and thank you, Antonia, for bringing this up, because it allows me to say something else, which is in terms of the party at the end, I have had clubs that would like to invite the young people in. Please be aware that it's our policy, certainly in District 91, that the Toastmasters always go into the structure of the school or the youth group. That is because some of our clubs, for instance, particularly the London ones, meet above pubs and all sorts of places, so that staff, they have to agree. Now staff, our teachers are very busy, let's be honest. They don't necessarily have the time to bring young people to us. So let's be supportive of them. But there have to be site visits and checks and all sorts of things before you invite young people onto the side of your Toastmasters club. So we go to the young people, we go to the school or the structure if we can. Obviously, if we're in an online context, we're online in Zoom. I would also like to add, in terms of mentoring, because this has come up once or twice, and we're quite firm on this, any coaching that you give, any demonstration of our Toastmasters techniques, any encouragement of the young people takes place in the session. We do not give individual mentoring to the young people. We do not even give small group mentoring to the young people. It's important to say this because young people are very used to an instantaneous world. They're online with all their friends on social media all the time. And it would be very easy for one of your participants to say, oh, I've got to go to my college interview next week and I'm trying to prepare this. Will you hear me through it? And before you know it, they'll want a session with you on Zoom or somewhere. And that is not a good idea. We do not open up those doors. Everything we do is in the actual session. Okay, it's for your protection as much as the protection of the young people too. You know, it means there's no conjecture around our youth work in the District 91. We keep it nice and clear. However, what I have had in the past with one or two groups is that, for instance, people have added in an extra session, and that has been the talk up your interview session. So they'll practice for a college interview. The young people in one, they actually did CV writing and produced CVs and discussed them with the Toastmasters. And the Toastmasters did like dummy interviews for them. So that's another way of handling the same situation, but it's done in the session. Absolutely nothing outside, please, because we value our youth work much too much for any problems like that. Antonia, does that answer your question?
That's lovely. I don't know if Sandra wants to say something.
Yes, Sandra, come to me.
With Sandra's idea of working with Prince's Trust.
Yes.
I do want to say something.
Yes, Sandra.
What do I want to say, Antonia?
Oh, you don't have to say something,
Just following
Sandra.
on from that comment, because we had this discussion.
About?
I don't know. It's just that, you know, because normally we go into the college to work with the Prince's Trust, and we were talking about doing this as a standalone, not in a college.
Yeah, we could do well,
standalone.
The Prince's Trust program. We've been doing a sort of a speechcraft, kind of a 2 workshop session with speech, using the speechcraft model for a long time with the local Prince's Trust program, and their program lasts for 12 weeks. So if we got into it earlier during the 12 weeks, we could potentially run maybe a 6-week version of this alongside the Prince's Trust program. That's what I was thinking.
That's lovely, Sandra. Can I just say that we have done this in an adapted version. As I say to you, my ideal is that every young person does at least 2 prepared speeches during the program, because I think that gives them a chance to do an icebreaker and then one where they've improved. So it's a nice way to handle it. We have gone into structures. For instance, I mentioned banking structures, which often have youth programs attached to them. And we've gone and done that certainly in the city, where we've gone into their already prepared program, and we've simply presented our techniques and what we do in Toastmasters and got the young people responding. So we've maybe done 1 or 2 sessions. We had City Limits Club, who did 2 very good programs with the Social Mobility Foundation. I don't know if you've heard of them. And they did them in 5 sessions. They only had 5 sessions to offer. So you can take this workbook and the coordinator guide and adjust it as you wish.
Yeah, sounds great.
That's quite doable. So Prince's Trust is a lovely idea. And allow me to mention at the same time, Rotary. Have you noticed the articles coming out in Toastmasters magazine about linking up with Rotary clubs? Rotary have their own young people's speaking contest. And in fact, some of our Toastmasters go and judge it every year. So you could consider, if you have a Rotary club in your vicinity, you could contact them, because quite often they've already got a program in a school that you could link in with. Yes, Dec. You're on mute.
I'm there. Yes, just coincidentally, that's the reason I'm here tonight. I've been asked to do quite a major presentation for Rotary tomorrow night. just sprung it on me, and it's particularly as regards Rotary wanting to get into bed with Toastmasters, because my brother is very involved with their speaking competition every year, which is very, very successful, but they don't have the structure. So they want me to talk to them initially tomorrow night and do 40 minutes, just like you're doing. So thank God we got that tonight.
Can I just say, we have done, in this district, we've done one program with Rotary, and the contact was quite pleasant. And we went in, they had a youth structure actually already in the school, and the Toastmasters that led the program did a very good job. Unfortunately, that program faltered, not because of Rotary or us, it faltered because of the school. The school was supposed to do the timetabling, and we got to session 6 and found that the young people had already done their exams for the year and they'd gone home. So we didn't get to complete, which was a great shame, because I was counting on that to open up a door. If you, with your briefing, can start to open up that door to us again, then I will be a very, very happy Toastmaster, please.
So in other words, the first thing I've got to say to them, it's got to be structured around the 8 sessions.
Look, I prefer the 8 sessions because that's the complete program, and this material is very well put together. If we find ourselves in a situation where we have to adapt and we do 5 sessions, we do 5 sessions. But because I would rather that we went in and delivered something and that the young people received something and were able to progress, rather than that we lost an opportunity. So we've always accepted all opportunities. For instance, somebody came to me a couple of years back and they said, I want to do something in a primary school. Well, with the best will in the world, this was not suitable for a primary school. But what we suggested was they took in a storytelling workshop, and the children wrote and created a story on the spot. They did artwork. It was fantastic. They did artwork with the story, and then they stood up in little groups and they told their story. And the coaching took the form of saying, well, what are we going to do when we're speaking in the room? We're going to stand up nicely. We're going to make sure our voices can be heard right to the back of the room. You know, those sorts of things, very simple. And they found that children were really responding to that. And the other thing that they used with the very young children was that old-fashioned thing that we do over here, certainly in the UK, show and tell. You take an object and you talk about it. And that, my dear friends, is a table topic. Yeah. Isn't it?
Ishrat's got a hand up. Ishrat, sorry, it's been a couple of minutes.
Yes.
That's okay. It's just absolutely amazing to hear Andrew carry on speaking, and I learned so much just by listening to Andrew. I could go on forever. Hi, Andrew.
Nice to see you, Ishrat. Well done on your contest win.
Thank you. Same to you, Andrew. You completely cut me off. I can't remember what I'm going to ask anymore. But thank you for opening up so much on the Youth Leadership Program. I'm signing in from Mauritius, and the club I'm in, which is Plateau Toastmasters Club, has been carrying out youth leadership programs since 2018. And a couple of weeks ago, we were going to have the award ceremony for the 8th session of Youth Leadership Program, but we went into lockdown. Now, I have a couple of members who are here in the session who are from Plateau. One of them has been starting the Youth Leadership Program. He was the very first person who kicked it off at Plateau in 2016, and he acts as a mentor to all the coordinators. And another member who is really interested in building up an online Gavel club. So this session was very fruitful for them. I'm 100% sure of that. Now, I have 2 questions. Right. With the lockdown being on at the moment, have you done, I mean, especially in England has been in lockdown for the past year, have you carried out any youth leadership program online? Because we've always done it in person, so I don't know if you've done it online, because this is the new normal. And my second question is, I've heard you throughout your speech mention about the different club officer roles in a youth leadership program. As we've done it so far in Mauritius, the only roles we've given to those kids are that of a timer, that of evaluators and
Meeting
obviously of
roles.
speakers, but not really as club officer roles, as acting as president or vice president. Is it a vital thing to do, or can we get away?
I would say, Ishrat, and thank you for your questions, because I think they're very apt questions. In terms of have we done youth leadership in D91 online yet? No, we haven't. Initially our programs came to a halt. The teachers were no longer in school. The lockdown here was, was a real cut-off point, and the kids were all at home. So we just halted our youth leadership because we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know when it would open up again. We had no idea. So we just halted. It's just now that I'm now feeling comfortable, having visited elsewhere, and I can see that we can operate a Zoom context, providing the teacher is the Zoom master and is there present all the time. In terms of the officer roles, they do actually exist within the program itself. It's in the coordinator's manual, the coordinator's guide, and we are supposed to run elections for those roles at the first meeting and meeting 4, I believe. So I think it depends on the age of the young people. It depends on, you can only judge when you get to know the young people themselves, really. But I do think it's nice to offer those leadership roles, because this is not just another public speaking scheme. It's a Toastmasters International leadership and speaking scheme. It's got both elements in it. So I would say, yes, give those opportunities out. And you will usually find that there are young people that will step up and they gain so much confidence. This is all about confidence building, this program. They gain so much confidence by having opportunities. And if we can give them those opportunities, yes, let's do it. I would say yes, I prefer it that way. That's my personal response, but I can understand that in other countries and in other contexts, maybe that's not appropriate there, and that's absolutely fine. As I say, I'm thrilled to hear you do a lot in Mauritius with it. That's good.
Yes. Well, unlike how you do it in England, we don't take the program into schools. We actually get the children out of schools, and they will take them on a Sunday morning, for instance, from 9 to 11. And we get them to, we take them through the program basically, and they get to do 2 or more speeches. They build up, they do the icebreaker, and then they build up on their speeches. And then they do a showcase of it on the award ceremony. But
our child protection rules in the UK are pretty strict on what we can do and where we can go, and so we couldn't actually operate like that. That wouldn't function for us. I did go some years ago with our district officers. I did start to respond because we had some questions about whether we could run our own structures outside of a school or outside of a youth club, and we looked at it all. And for us in District 91, it's just not operable because it would rely on Toastmasters getting specific insurances. There would have to be a whole load of checks that would have to be paid for somewhere from the budgets. We would have to obviously find accommodation for those clubs or youth leadership programs. It's much easier for us to go in and deliver in a structure. It really is. It covers a lot of red tape that we as a district can't go into. I'm very aware. I'm always grateful when people come to youth leadership or Gavel clubs and come alongside us as Toastmasters and work with these structures. But I'm very aware that we are one aspect of Toastmasters. And as I said earlier on today, people come to improve their own leadership and speaking skills. So I don't think, in terms of district energy, I don't think that we could necessarily take on doing our own structures and peopling them as well. But what we can do is, as individual Toastmasters within our clubs and with our club support, we can go and offer programs within existing structures. And I think that's much the best for us. But I can understand in your situation in Mauritius, things run slightly differently and you have a bit more leeway than we do.
Yes.
Can I ask, Liz, I think you had a question, didn't you? Was it your hand I saw? Thank you, Ishrat.
It's not really a question, it's just going back to Rotary. About 5 years ago, I was approached by my local Rotary club because I was, because I was president of my local Toastmasters club. And I was invited to be chief judge at the Rotary Youth Speaks
Youth
contest.
Speaks.
Yeah, and I took part in, I was chief judge, and the first year I went on to the next level, the next heat, and found that the feedback I'd given, which apparently was quite detailed and they were thrilled with it, was not carried through. And that led me to think, in a conversation with Elizabeth Jordan, who's on the screen there, that between us, we thought we would have a youth leadership contest, youth leadership program in one of the local schools. And I think there's a ready pool there of young people who are linked through Rotary. They're not Rotaries, but they're linked to Rotary because Rotary is running Youth Speak. So, for example, we have 3 schools in my town who are competing. So we obviously couldn't go and run a youth leadership program in each of those schools. But by having that link with Rotary that the international presidents of both our organisations have agreed on, by having that link, we can then hopefully, between all of us, there's a pool of young people through working with Rotary who we could run youth leadership programs, and obviously then that supports Rotary, it supports young people, and it gives us a wonderful opportunity. And Elizabeth, I'm sure we ran youth leadership program in the local school, and we're planning to do it again hopefully soon. And we also ran a watered down version in a primary school linked to the curriculum. So
that's excellent.
So
that's excellent.
Anybody wants any opportunities, they should perhaps contact the local Rotary, as DEC is in touch, and find out how we can help coach the young people taking part in the Youth Speaks contest.
I'm thrilled with this tonight because I was very keen to reopen that contact with Rotary. So I'm thrilled to hear that this has been happening and that DEC's got an invitation, and we can pursue that further, because I think it is a very good opportunity for us to go and deliver the programme. And I think they were delighted with us. There was no problem with us. As I say, there was an issue.
Because it could be there.
Am I hearing a question? Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, Andrew. First of all, excellent presentation. Really enjoyed it, learned a lot. As Liz said, the 2 of us did 2 very successful programs in Hertfordshire. And the one thing about the DBS that I would say is Liz and I it was non-negotiable. There was no question of, because the teacher had it, we had to have it. And we both are involved in other activities, so we did have that, so we were covered. As regards to teaching the class, that's a very interesting one, because the teacher said to us, we trust you, and she came at the beginning, came at the end, but didn't want to be there all the time. So that was an interesting take, but we did report to her every time. Someone asked a question about online. I think you haven't done it in 91, we haven't done it in 71, but I have been at an online club in Ghana where they did an online youth leadership program, and I actually attended, and I have to say it worked extremely well. The children were obviously all sitting in a place that was, not their bedroom or anything. It was very obvious where they were. They were online. It was very clear. It was very well managed, and I was really amazed. So I think online can work. And Liz and I, we're probably going to be invited back in quite soon, and we'll probably do an online one, so we can collaborate on that. And certainly Rotary, I've also been chief judge and judge with Rotary, and that's a really good link to get in with young people. So I would say youth leadership, go for it. Very, very, certainly in my 10 years as a Toastmaster, I have to be honest, it's the best thing I think I've done. Thoroughly enjoyed it. So encourage everyone interested in doing youth leadership.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Can I to come back on what you were saying about the DBS check again? You will have situations where certain schools will insist, but then the teacher wanted to leave you alone with the group, and therefore they would. But I promise you that practically every program we've done, it's been under the guidance of, and we've never had because we say it right from the start. We say, well, look, you're welcoming in business people, people from other walks of life. They bring something into the school context, and usually the schools are keen to have us, and they will understand. You say, well, we come as guests. We're not youth workers. That's not what we do. And we have to have a qualified presence with us at all times. If you make it clear at the beginning, it works very, very well normally. But some schools, because of perhaps their timetabling, will, they might ask you to do the DBS. In which case, if they insist on it, they should help you and assist you to be able to get it, to be honest. They should assist you in some way. Because I think that would be normal. But I really am not in favour of Toastmasters being left on their own in the classroom. I really am not. We've not done it and we've been doing this for 10 years, and I'm not. I know that some of our Toastmasters do youth work elsewhere, and it's okay, they're covered. But as a general rule, it's not what I like. But thank you. Thank you very much. Look, we're coming up to our full time now. It's coming to 8 o'clock. There are a lot of files in that chat that you will want to download. So I want you to have the time to do your download. I want to thank all the folks at District for letting me come and do this webinar. I am something of a district unidentified flying object because I'm not actually an official district officer. I'm actually a kind of advisor, and I've taken it in that role. It won't come as a surprise to some of you to know that I like Toastmasters contests rather a lot and competing. So when this was set up, I decided I didn't want to be an official officer because I wanted to be able to compete and have some fun myself if I'm doing all of this as well. But it's been great to see you all online. If there are any questions that I haven't managed to cover, my Gmail is on the information that you are downloading. It's vocallyserious@gmail.com. A lot of you know it because you've been to my voice workshops. vocallyserious@gmail.com is me. Please, please give news. If you set up a youth leadership, if you set up a Gavel, whatever you're intending to do, give me some news. Keep contact, please. It's been lovely to have you here tonight. Thank you so much to Andy for opening up the Zoom room for us and for doing the introduction. I've been pleased to see you. And wherever you are in the world, I wish you every happiness with your youth leadership and Gavel Club work tonight. Okay, thanks everybody. It's been nice to see you.
Andrew, thank you very much. Can we just have another very quick round of applause, please, for Andrew? I think that was brilliant. So next week, please don't forget, if you are viewing us from outside of the UK, British summertime starts, so we will be GMT +1 next week, which means we will have light evenings. It'll be fantastic. Springtime is almost here. Next week we have the best double act since Bernie and the other bloke Winters back in the 1960s. It's Rupert Datta and Mike Burrows acting as two heads on one body, talking about club mentoring and how that works in terms of club growth. The following week, we have a session for the area directors with Helena, and we have lots of other great webinars every Sunday evening rather, here at 7 o'clock in the UK. So on behalf of myself and everybody else, thank you very much indeed. Any questions, just pop them in the chat. And from us, very good night to you. Thank you very much.